Hey, hi, hello, ladies. How's it going? How's it going? Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing well. Me, I'm doing fine because I'm situated in front of my wall of enemies. But today isn't really an enemy story. Today, we got a story involving a metalcore band and some robots. It's been brought to my attention that Zayo has been accused by TuneCore of using AI in their new record. So today, we're going to go through this story. But before we do, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Dan Frampton. All one word, the O's a zero, and I am the internet's most ruthless gatekeeper, and I do the most important thing on the internet. I ruthlessly gatekeep everything. And normally, if I'm ruthlessly gatekeeping you, and you do something questionable, maybe your behavior is not so good, maybe not so peachy keen, I'm going to be putting you here in my rogues gallery, in my enemies list, which basically means I'm keeping tabs on all your buffoonery. And really, I should put AI here in the rogues gallery, and maybe I will. Maybe today, that's the day it happens. But really, we're talking about Zayo, classic metalcore band. I used to know these guys way back in the 2000s, listened to them a little bit, but mostly because people around me were listening to them. They were never really one of my favorite bands, but they had that one record that I did listen to a lot because my friends really fucked with them. And to be honest, it's pretty cool that they're still going. So I just went over here to their Instagram page to see what they've been up to, and it looks like they've been up to recording stuff. Sharing their gear, sharing their merch, sharing band shots and live shots, even shots of the digital audio workstation, telling their fans that they're working on stuff. The hype was building. Everybody's like, yes, more Zayo music, let's go. Excellent, apparently. But TuneCore, one of those online distributors, they were like, we have different plans for you, Zayo. So Zayo submitted the record. They wanted it to be released through TuneCore. If you're unfamiliar with TuneCore, I'll explain it a little bit. There are companies on the internet like TuneCore and CD Baby and other ones where if you just make music, you can pay these guys to put your music up on Spotify and Apple Music and just distribute it. And with the rise of AI and all sorts of artificial intelligence, going in and generatively making music, it is in these companies' best interest to kind of try to limit that as much as possible because there are real artists that are out there trying to distribute real music. But it seems like here that TuneCore thinks that Zayo's new project is a little bit AI. And because TuneCore is thinking it's AI, there's been a delay on this record, and all that hype that they've been building is now starting to get squashed a little bit. Zayo posted to their Facebook the following: "We were accused by TuneCore of using generative AI. So here is a shot of the DAW and our dirty mid-fi, patent pending, tracking. For those uninitiated, the DAW stands for Digital Audio Workstation. Programs like Pro Tools and Cubase, that kind of thing." Back into the post, you will notice not only do we not even quantize stuff or mute breaths, we also track drums and cymbals separately so we can do what needs to be done with the drums, but not edit. There are mistakes all over the place. Now I'll break this down for people that might not know what these terms mean. The term quantize means to snap it to a grid, which is something that AI would do. If you're playing in a 4/4 time signature, quantizing would snap all the notes, snap all the beats to that time signature. Mute breaths, I don't know if that needs to be explained, but when you're singing and screaming, oftentimes there's going to be these breaths that you don't want in the track, so you're going to mute them. And tracking drums and cymbals separately sounds painful. It sounds painful from a recording process, and it sounds painful from a production standpoint. But basically, all that means is the drums, like the physical shells, the snare and the toms and the kick drum, they're all on one track, and then all the high end, all the cymbals, the hi-hats, the crash, the ride, they're on another track. So if you need to move some cymbals around, so if you need to adjust the volume of the bass drum, that those two polarizing frequencies don't clash with one another. This is something that AI would not even think to do, because it's a robot. It doesn't think. Anyway, back into the post, there isn't even technically a click track or drum samples on this. If we were using AI, it did its job poorly. Everything aside from those drums and vocals is through a Jelly Bean Line 6 pod. More terminology that needs to be broken down apparently. When he says there isn't even a click track, for those that have never recorded, a click track is that time signature that I spoke about earlier, but playing in the musician's ear to make sure that they're staying in time. It's a metronome. And if this were made by AI, it would be snapped to the grid already. They wouldn't need a metronome. And to the point, if this is AI, it did its job poorly, meaning it left in all the mistakes. And AI wouldn't leave in mistakes. And finishing off the quote over here, it says, "There's even a clip warning on the track. Worst AI ever." Now, a clip warning occurs when the volume of a certain track exceeds 6 decibels. And it normally flags it with a big red bar, and you need to adjust it for that red bar to go away. And if it were AI, that wouldn't be a thing. And I know you're like, oh, okay, that's fine. This is just a picture of a digital audio workstation. This could be whatever. No, this is like a 2-minute recording of it. Roll it. That's all the proof that I need to know that this wasn't made by AI. This is all separate tracks that can all be individually isolated and muted out. They're all there. He went through them all. This does not seem like AI. Dude, and I can only imagine how frustrating it would be in this day and age to put in all sorts of work to make the record, to collaborate with your bandmates and your producers and everybody from that end. And then from the business end, then you got the art end and the business end. You put those together and you try to get some traction going, you try to get some hype going, posting it all to the internet just for TuneCore to be like, so much for the art, so much for the business, so much for the fans on the internet. They can't have this because we think that you're doing AI. And Zayo continued to comment on the situation when they said the following. This is a case of probably a vinyl only release since we've been using them. Very well, we will add, as a digital distributor over the last decade. Blindsided by this, we can't get a person to explain why we're accused of using generative AI. Dude. That would be so fucking frustrating. These guys aren't just like an independent band coming out of the woodwork, putting out their first piece of material. This is legendary, iconic institution known as Zayo. And yeah, they're putting out the music independently and having all sorts of struggles with it. But you think a band with these kinds of connections, a band with this kind of reach, a band with this kind of audience should be able to get on the horn with whoever the distributor is, be it one of those online ones, be it one of those brick and mortar ones, it doesn't matter. If you got a distributor and a band, you should be able to get some customer service on the go because it isn't free to get your music distributed by one of these companies. You have to pay money, of course, for them to put your stuff on Spotify and on Apple Music and all that sort of stuff. So if you're paying money for a service, you should be able to receive customer service for that service. That doesn't seem like a hot take. But in the land of internet, where there's so many people and it's so saturated, it is so hard to get on the horn with any real person to talk about any problems. All these people are using AI. They got AI chatbots all over the place like, hey, I can help you with your question. I'm a robot. Just type it in. I'm awesome. And then you type it in, you're like, you're not awesome. You didn't answer my question. Give me a human being, please. I've had all sorts of trouble dealing with these chatbots on my own, with YouTube, at my regular work, through GoFundMe, you name it. These robots are not helpful. Not helpful, not by a long shot. And on one hand, I want there to be really strict guidelines keeping AI off of these platforms. It is trash, it is slop, and especially when there's real music out there that could do it better and have soul in it. I don't want to support robots making music, of course not. But with the rise of the ability to make your own music, produce it, distribute it, all at everybody's fingertips, I can understand how it would be almost too much to manage. All these tracks coming in from real artists, generative AI artists, and it's up to you to decipher what's real, what's legitimate, and what belongs on the platforms and stuff like that. Seems like a little bit too much work. It seems almost unsustainable. And I hate that. I hate that it's come to that. But if they're gonna be making artists prove that they didn't fucking use AI, in order for it to go through all the filters and stuff, that also seems like it's gonna take a whole lot more work. That's gonna need to pass through real employees getting paid real wages. I don't understand any of this fucking shit, man. AI was sold to us as something that was gonna make life easier, a tool for the everyday person. But literally, it is making everything so much more complicated and so much more stupid just introducing all these fucking robots to our world. And even using it as a search engine is not reliable. Going to ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, Claude, you're gonna get 4 different answers using the same fucking prompt. I run a comic book channel where I also need to know what issues first things happen. Hey, what was the first issue that this person appeared? Hey, what was the first cover that this character appeared on? That kind of thing. So as an experiment, I would ask Gemini, I would ask Claude, I would ask ChatGPT, and they would tell me what issue to go to. I would go to that issue, and the event that I was looking for didn't take place in the issue. And I'd have to say, yo, ChatGPT, that didn't happen there. And then ChatGPT would say, oh, you're right. How about you try this issue? And then you go to that, it's like, no, it's not there either. Do you even know what you're talking about? Of course you don't. And comic books and the history of comic books are some of the most well-documented pieces of media in our fucking culture, and these robots can't even catalog it. They can't even go through this large language model to determine what issue an event happened in comic books. AI is just getting dumber, and the things that it's generating are so easily recognized as AI at this point. So do I think Zeo deserved to be here on the enemies list? Of course not. Anything but. This must be so frustrating for them. But you know what? Someone is making the enemies list today. I can't leave this undone. AI, you can't be getting away with this anymore. It is bare time you make it to my rogues gallery. Robots. The chatbots are getting dumber, folks, and the billionaires are pushing them down our throat even harder. You do not need an AI summary to get through this video. You don't need an AI to summarize your emails. You, my friends, are so much smarter than that. And I bet you have a better idea of whatever it is that you like, whatever hobby, whatever interest you have a better idea of it, even if you don't have all the facts, than AI. Gemini, Grok, Claude, ChatGPT, welcome to the Rogues Gallery beside Ronnie Radke, which I know he's a pretty big fan of you. There's a lot of things in common with everybody on my Rogues Gallery. There's a lot of things in common, but there are some people in here that you wouldn't expect to see, like Dave Grohl, who else? Drain. Maybe those are the only oddballs. But everyone else, you're like, yeah, that's all the same kind of shithead. Those are all the same kind of douchebag. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those guys suck. They suck for sure. But you know who doesn't suck? Zeo. They deserve better. They're getting fucked around by the robots, man, and I can't take it anymore. We're trying to get to 25,000 subs here on the channel. It's just a little bit over 100 subs. I know we can do it. I know there's more than 100 people watching this video right now that haven't subscribed to the channel. So we can make this happen with this video. We can get to 25,000. Just give me 100 and some odd subs, people. Okay, and with that begging out of the way, I'm gonna leave now. Goodbye, see you later, and have a good one.